When were you blown away by your own stupidity?
In school one day my friend had a pen that lit up when you pressed it to paper, or if you flicked a switch on the pen the lights would flash. He kept turning it on and waving it at me. This annoyed me, so I took the batteries out in front of him. He stared at me for a second before trying to get the batteries back. In the midst of the struggle I decided the best way to stop him from getting them, so I popped them in my mouth, then proceeded to swallow them. My friend returned to staring at me, but with a panicked look on his face. I didn't think anything of it at first, but eventually I realized that I shouldn't have done that. I started feeling weird. I held my hand up and asked my teacher if I could go to the nurse's office. Skeptical, she asked me why. I told her I had just eaten 3 small batteries and was feeling weird. She stared in disbelief, I think, for a second, then told the class that she'll return in a moment and immediately seized my hand and practically dragged me along, sprinting to the nurse's office. She threw me into the nurse's office and screamed, "He's fucking swallowed batteries." The nurse jumped up out of her chair. "Oh my god, oh shit, I'll ring the NHS and find out what we need to do." I immediately felt like the stupidest idiot alive. I asked if I was going to be okay. My teacher looked at me and smiled the fakest smile I've ever seen in my life. "Of course you a boy." Long story short, I had to be taken to A&E and had to be x-rayed to see where the batteries were. They had reached my stomach, so I was at risk of the stomach acid melting the metal coating and the battery acid entering my stomach. I was given laxatives and a sieve, and kept overnight, of which I spent 75% of this sifting through my sludgy bowel movements like some crazed Wild West miner scouring for gold. Eventually found them, and I've lived happily ever after since, thankfully. I wish I still had them, a trophy, of the stupidest I've ever been.
At least you didn't hit your friend. It could have been assault and battery.
Birthday is March 12th. In high school I saw that my birthday was going to fall on a Thursday. So I was like, oh wow, Thursday the 12th. I proceeded to scan the next couple of decades on my iPod Touch calendar to find out if my birthday would ever fall on Friday the 13th. To those curious, no, my March 12th b-day doesn't ever fall on Friday the 13th lol. Not my proudest moments, not my worst smiley face.
Coworker actually believed another coworker that this year Halloween would fall on Friday the 13th this year. That was a good laugh.
I recently went to pick up an order of glasses. The optician asked me to try them on, to see if they fit well. I told him this must be someone else's order, because everything was blurry. He was surprised and started hunting through boxes, and I kept squinting and looking around at blurry shapes. We did this for 10 minutes before the optometrist walked in. He explained the issue and the optometrist paused and asked where I put the glasses I was wearing when I walked in. I said I was wearing contacts. I was wearing contacts. And I put the new glasses over my contacts. I asked the optometrist if this gave me double the perfect vision, and she replied, "If you mean double vision, sure."
When I was a young lad, I had to go pick out my first glasses. So my mom and I are in the shop, she and the salesman having me put on at least 40 glasses, me not liking them all, because I couldn't see well through any of them. I didn't realize I just had to pick a frame I liked, and then the correct strength of lenses would be put in later.
I once was cooking mac and cheese and started squeezing the cheese sauce in before draining the water. When I realized the mistake, I grabbed the cheese sauce with my hands, and that just made everything worse in every way.
In high school, I woke up on a day where very icy weather was expected and couldn't find school closings on TV. I begrudgingly got ready for school, stepped out my front door, and immediately slipped on ice, landing flat on my back. Got up, shook it off, and cursed the school for not being closed. I had to crawl my way up a hill to the bus stop because I kept slipping down ice on the way there. Got to the bus stop and waited over half an hour for it to get there. Checked my watch repeatedly, getting more and more angry each time. Finally decide that they must have cancelled school and slowly make it back home. Where I see a clock. It was now 2:30 a.m. Checked my watch repeatedly.
Yours is an extreme example of it, but I feel like a lot of people go through a similar thing for some reason. I think I was still in middle school at the time, but I woke up and went to take a shower and get ready for school probably around that same time of 2:30 a.m. Even though I had a clock right by my bed, and this is back when my mom would wake me up. but for some reason, I just thought it was time to get up and get ready. I think my brother or someone heard the shower on and came to ask what the hell I was doing.
I uninstalled wireless drivers on a computer I was working on remotely. It just went offline. Wait, shit, I'm an idiot.
I've accidentally shut down several remote servers instead of rebooting. Calling the data center to hit the power button always makes me feel like an idiot.
During the holidays I walked through an arts and crafts store trying to find something very specific. After finding out they didn't have it, I got in a long line to check out. It didn't hit me that I didn't have anything to buy until it was my turn. I just walked past the cashier, waved, and said, "Have a nice day." It was night. FML.
I live in Florida. During the 2004 hurricanes we lost power, so all the neighbors got together for a little cookout, so we could share and cook the food so it didn't go to waste. It was starting to get dark, so I pointedly asked why no one had turned on the porch light. Every single one of them looked at me as if I were stupid. Then it hit me, oh, there's a reason why we can't turn on the porch light.
That one time I bit my phone and tapped my toast.
I've tried to scroll on printed pictures, articles too many times. Also Zoom.
Boomers have joined the chat.
I legitimately forgot the word piano a few years ago. I was trying to describe a situation to someone, and I blanked. I tried to remember, but I kept saying panio instead. They corrected me and it all just fell into place in my head. Weirdest sensation of my life, I don't know how to describe it. Felt hella dumb afterwards.
The first time my husband took me to a fancy restaurant. I grew up on the U.S. Mexico border, so I'm used to the word con being within food. Chili con carne, arroz con pollo, you get the drift. Husband takes me to a fancy restaurant when we're still dating and I'm poor AF, so prior to this for me fancy was Olive Garden. I pick something out for dinner and he says, "Do you want an appetizer?" I said, "I don't care, you pick one, I've got to run to the restroom." I come back and sit down and he says, "I ordered the duck confit pastry appetizer." All I can picture is the end of a Christmas Story with the goose with its head still on being served at dinner. I'm kind of horrified but don't say anything. But I'm expecting us to be handed a duck with the feet still attached. So the appetizer comes and it's these little pastry cups with cubes of, I presume, chopped up duck inside, and I look at him and say, "So are the feet in there too?" "Yeah, it's duck confit. Not duck confit." And I'm never living that down.
To be fair, I think it's pronounced confit, so your husband fucked up by pronouncing it wrong in the first place.
I walked around my apartment talking to my mum on the phone and continued getting more and more frustrated. My mum noticed and asked what was wrong, and I said, "I just can't seem to find my phone." It kicked in about 5 seconds later.
Told this story before but possibly worth sharing again. When I was a kid I once ate the inside of my wall because I thought it was a wafer cookie. For whatever reason, there was a hole in my wall right above my sofa, and one day a part of the wall fell onto the sofa. I saw the bits of wall on the sofa, I realized there was a hole in the wall right above it, and so I clearly remember picking up a piece of the wall and thinking to myself, this is probably the wall, but I couldn't shake the possibility that it could be crumbled wafer cookies. So I took the risk and ate the wall bits that fell on the sofa. And for whatever dumb reason, even after I quickly realized it didn't taste like wafer cookies, I finished the rest of the wall sediments, thinking that maybe the piece I initially ate was wall, but perhaps the rest of the pieces on the sofa were in fact wafer cookies. I was not a smart boy.
When I was a kid, my mom accidentally burned some food she was cooking, as in, it was actually on fire. I heroically leapt to the rescue to put it out, by hitting it with a napkin. No, I don't know what I was thinking either.
Better than what my wife did when she caught the toaster on fire. All she could do was point at the toaster and go, in increasingly panicked fashion each time she said it. She will never live that down.
True Sims fashion, stand and scream and point at the danger till you die.
As a child I decide to close my eyes and walk around, to experience the world like a blind person might. I stretched my arms out in front of me so I wouldn't walk face first into anything, but that didn't stop an open door from passing undetected between my hands at just the right angle and smashing me square in the nose.
I grew up in a trailer park, in a trailer heated by propane gas. When I was 16, a blizzard hit my area really hard and my mum was worried because immediately prior to the storm she thought she smelled propane just outside and was concerned about us having a leak. About 10 o'clock at night the heater started acting funny and my mum, fully convinced of the leak at this point, asked me to go out back and check to the propane tanks, see if they still had gas, and if so how much. So I begrudgingly throw on some clothes and head out into 2 feet of snow. As get around the back of the trailer, near the tanks, I slipped and dropped my flashlight, which promptly died. But a light bulb goes off in my head. I'm a smoker and never go anywhere without my Zippo. So I light it up and start poking around the tank to read the meter and see if I can smell any propane. And then it finally sinks in, I'm looking for a propane leak with a goddamn open flame. So I was figuratively and almost literally blown away by my own stupidity. Some real Darwin nominee material that night.
At my SO's parents' house and getting hot and heavy in the shower. They have a second house on their land and usually we'll crash there when we visit them. So her dad is knocking hard on the door to the house and isn't letting up, and we can hear it from the bathroom. So I get out, quickly get some clothes on and answer the door like nothing's happening. He asks, can I come in? Like to the house, not the bathroom. And I fucking say, not really. So now it's immediately clear to him what's happening and he leaves embarrassed. My SO is about ready to die inside, she's so embarrassed. And I'm the most embarrassed just for how stupid it was to not just say, yeah come in. I was dressed, she was in the shower. There was zero evidence of canoodling until I told him there was. Probably the stupidest thing I've ever done.
Once, I was walking through a doorway and a person was walking through the opposite direction at the same time. We both repeatedly tried to get out of each other's way, only to get in each other's way again. Every time I tried to get out of the way, so did he. Every time I tried to walk through the doorway, so did he. This went back and forth for about a few seconds before I realized the door was closed and the other guy was my reflection.
Are you a bird, bro?
I was applying for a job that required an off-site aptitude test, and it included a study guide for math. I realized that not practicing fractions in 10 or so years was humbling. I nearly had a meltdown because I just couldn't grasp how fractions worked again. Math truly is a language. If you don't use it, you lose it. I never did take the test because I got a job offer elsewhere, but I was dreading coming to terms with how dumb I had become since school.
How dumb I had become since school. If it makes you feel better, you were probably dumb while you were in school as well.
I have a master's degree. A professional designation. I've won professional awards for work in my field. So help me God, I thought the dirty, clean magnet on the dishwasher flipped itself. Edit, thanks for the gold. My wife still contends that this kind of stupidity shouldn't be rewarded, but here we are.